Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Mindful Matters. My name is Shoaib and my guest today is Owais, and today we'll be talking about career coaching, interview skills and an introduction to business. Assalamu alaikum, Owais.
Assalamu alaikum, Shoaib. Thank you so much for having me for the Mindful Matter episode.
Welcome to the program. Look, Owais, let's just get straight into it. I was having a chat before the show and you actually mentioned you're a qualified electrical engineer and now run a successful business in IT services. So tell us a bit about your background and how that came to be.
Sure. So I came to Australia about in 2005 as a first generation Australian. Every person wants to come here, get an Australian degree, and get a job as well. My brothers are like electrical engineers. And as you can imagine, there's a bit of familiarity with the education as well. So I said, I'll give it a go and see how electrical engineering actually pans out. So I went to Wollongong, did my electrical engineering degree, and afterwards, it's been an interesting journey afterwards.
Yeah, right. So obviously you're going to become an engineer, doctor, or a lawyer, as most households from the subcontinent expect. So,
Yeah.
so if you did electrical engineering, after that, how was your experience in finding a job in that industry?
It's an interesting question because there are a couple of factors before you actually walk into an actual job. You need to have your financial security, a bit of pressure from the family, and obviously my intuition to be able to support the family as well. After doing the electrical engineering from Wollongong, I expected that I will get an immediate job afterwards. But unfortunately, in my case, it did not happen for 3 years. Wow. And during that time, as you can imagine, although family didn't actually ask me for any financial support, having my dad work for night shifts at the Woolworths and my brother work for a long time as well, I felt the financial pressure.
It took the toll on you,
exactly,
as it would.
like the anxiety, the depression for not applying for over 600 jobs.
Wow.
And actually running into rejection after rejection for about 3 years, that took a toll.
That has to be some kind of record, I reckon. 600 jobs, wow.
Like I've got like my Gmail. I actually recorded this in my Gmail applications and did with every application, as you can imagine. You've got your resume, you've got your cover letter, and you've got your application. If I do a toll of them, it's over 600 applications.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's obviously hardened you up, I guess, to life. At a very early stage of your career. So obviously that the electrical engineering didn't work out, and then you moved into IT. I believe the IT side of the business.
That actually came out as interesting. Like a surprise for me, because one of my career coach at that time actually told me that we've got a workshop happening at this company. Would you be interested in learning presentation skills? Although I at that point I felt that I'd had good presentation skills, good public speaking skills as well. I said, why not? I'll give it a go. It's a big, long workshop.
Sure.
I might as well give it a go.
Yeah.
And that actually turned out to be one of the best surprise for my career, because that company is one of the top 2 companies to work for in Australia.
Wow.
I didn't knew that at that time.
Yeah.
And walked into Salesforce and did a lot of work, like 7 years of work in Salesforce. In a lot of different departments, learn a lot of skills from the corporate job, and that actually set me up for my IT services business, because having that soft skills that you learn from the corporate job and now being able to bring that experience into business, I think that's a very valuable experience that anybody can bring in.
That's great. That's great to hear. Now, obviously, so you obviously went into this IT industry, learnt the skills, and now you've applied that to your own business.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah. So after having that experience from post-sales, if you can imagine in a business, you have pre-sales, you would have the sales team, and you would have departments that are supporting the sales after a product has been sold. So in Salesforce, I actually worked from technical support. I worked in customer success, which essentially means taking care of the customers, and in renewals as well, and the technical side of things as well. So I've experienced all of the post-sale side of things from Salesforce CRM industry, and that's essentially what I've opened my business that because these are the skills that I actually won or got from Salesforce, why not utilize that in my own business?
great.
And alhamdulillah, it's been very successful.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, look, let's just take it back a little bit now. So obviously, you're a fresh graduate that's just come out of university. You know, there's a lot of our young viewers that are watching today. They're in their final years of university, and you're going to come out the other end with a big debt. You know, in Australia, we're very fortunate that we do get government assistance, you know, while we're studying. But once you obviously graduate, you've got a $50,000-$60,000 debt.
Yeah.
You know, what's sort of the things that students can do, you know, from a planning perspective, once they're out of university to really push their career forward and go in the right direction?
I would actually take it back. Instead of just having university graduates, I would take it back to high school, because a lot of career planning needs to happen at that stage. Sure. And from a financial management perspective, you need to understand that even if you go into a university degree, it could be like my journey, that you don't actually get a job immediately after that, and you have got $60,000 debt at least from your university, just admin debt.
Yeah.
But if you're living at uni, if you're living at housing, the rent, the food, the clothes, everything adds up. So you need to have a plan of
it's
how
a very
to
expensive piece of paper in the end, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So nobody actually told me when I came to Australia that it will actually cost me that much, because when I came to Australia, my purpose was to actually get a job as soon as possible, to start paying off some financial support to the family.
Sure.
If I had known that back then when I actually started the degree, I would have actually gone to a different route, have some trade experience, and move into my own business. But what ended up happening, I got a degree in almost 7 years, no income.
It adds up, doesn't it?
It does end up. So in terms of the advice that I would give to the students coming out of high school, or even the university students, I would say have a plan in terms of how are they going to pay off that $60,000 debt. Either start paying part of the loan that you are taking immediately as you are doing the university degrees, as you are going through the actual university lives, or actually think about is the university degree actually going to be helpful of what you're going to do in future as well.
That's a very controversial comment. I mean, I agree to it to some extent as well. You know, sometimes a university degree is in everything, you know, and we see that in real life. A lot of successful business owners and people that are successful in careers as well don't have any formal education. We're obviously not saying don't go to university. Definitely go to university and learn as much as you can, because you'll definitely polish yourself as an individual going through a degree and learning, you know, a lot of new skills, and you know, you can apply them in the real world after that. Now, moving on from that, obviously you've transitioned from working, you know, for a large, you said the second most highest voted place to work in Australia, to now starting your own business. What went through your mind when you made that transition? Obviously, how many years were you working before you went into business for yourself?
So since that workshop, actually my anniversary is coming up with that as well, the workshop anniversary. So since the workshop down to when I actually exited, it's almost 7 years that I worked for Salesforce. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because without, and even going back to your previous point around university skills and business skills, university skills are absolutely important. You learn a lot about communication, you learn a lot about management. Even if I look back and I say my people skills, my communication skills, and project management skills that I'm actually implementing in my business right now actually came from my university project that I did in year 4 and year 3, which normally wouldn't have happened in other scenarios as well. The same thing happens in our corporate role. In corporate role, you're working with other very talented individuals that you're learning from. You're getting mentorship from them.
It's a real life experience that those people have gone through, years and years of it. So
so these are like 15, 10, 5 years ahead of you. So you get a lot of life experience and a lot of skills that you wouldn't normally get from anywhere else. So my journey was essentially learning from these talented individuals. And every single time I meet a new person, I'm like, whoa, you've got a lot of life experience. How can I learn from you? But more so, how can I make your life better as well?
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, from what I understand, even from personal experience, working for a corporation or small business or big business, I've learned a lot of my skills that I now implement in my own business. You know, a lot of young guys want to come out of university and start their business. You know, what advice would you give them? Working for someone, is it important?
It's a really interesting question. I would say yes, but it also depends upon what you actually want out of life as well. I was having a conversation before this, like, should we actually go for business directly, or should we go for an individual role or individual contributor role, have a normal job with a corporate company? So my advice there is you need to have your basic skills, or have identified your goals, what you would like to do for the next 12, 24, up to 5 years, what you would like to ideally do in the next 12, in the next phase, if you may.
Sure.
I call them phases because for some people these phases are 3 months.
Yep.
So for some people it could be 3 years. Personally, I like to set a timeline of 12 months
Right.
to set up my 12 months goal. What do I want to achieve? Actually write it down, which I've actually gotten into a habit of. If you don't write it down, it doesn't happen.
That's right. You have to manifest it. I started doing that recently as well. You know, you have to write it down in your own handwriting, and you actually see results coming to life, from it. And coming back to the goal setting as well, like a bit of personal experience with my business, I set my goals at 90 days. Like I've got 90-day goals for my business.
Yeah.
I've got personal goals that vary from 12 months, 24 months. I've got life goals that vary up to 10 years. So it really depends, I guess, where you are and where you sit and what that goal really is. To want a goal that's only achievable in 10 years in 90 days. It's not feasible. So you have to really break it down and understand what the goals are and where they sit.
I love that you point out and brought up the breaking down the goals, because a lot of students, a lot of young individuals think about becoming athletes within the next day.
That's right.
But the reality is you don't become an athlete the next day. You think about becoming an athlete the next day you actually put your shoes on.
That's right.
And that's where you have to start. So becoming an athlete doesn't happen overnight. You have to go through the smaller steps that you have to go through.
Yep.
That 90-day example from a business perspective, that's an excellent one. What I like to do, and maybe you've got a different process, is have a 12 months plan.
Yep.
That's something I learned from Salesforce as well. It's a process they call V2MOM, which essentially stands for vision, values, methods, obstacle, and I believe method, obstacle, and something else, which I'm forgetting right now. But the idea is you write your 12 months plan of what you'd like to achieve.
Sure.
And it has to be quantifiable. By that I mean, if I come up to you and say, I want to be rich, I'll give you $1, and you become $1 richer. You have to be more quantifiable than that and say, I want to be, let's say, $50,000 richer by the end of 12 months.
Yep.
And to do that, I like to have a business in IT, food,
Correct.
whatever you like to pick
Right
up.
down to the last line, what are the systems and the processes? What's the ideal client that you're going to go for?
Yeah.
What's going to be your sales pitch? So there's a lot of information involved in that, when you want to actually quantify what your goals are. So you mentioned basic skills, in essentially anything that you do. I believe the most basic skill is the skill of being able to interview well. What sort of advice could you give, or even experiences that you've had in the past, good or bad, that you can sort of pass on to our viewers?
Absolutely. After going through 600 applications, I think the main thing I've learned through interviews and feedbacks is have a process. And the one I personally like to use is essentially what I'm doing in my head right now. It's called the STAR approach. So it stands for situation, task, action, and results.
Sure.
So if you walk into an interview, and usually interviewers are asked, tell me a bit about yourself. I won't go into my life story. I used to do that, absolutely, in my first couple of years of interviews. Didn't get feedback about that, but now I know the interviews are actually looking for, is this person going to connect with me?
Right.
A lot of time interviewers are looking for not necessarily they are looking for a connection.
Sure.
Is the person able to communicate better? If the person able to fit into the kind of job that you're looking for?
Interpersonal skills, really. That's what they're
Interpersonal
trying to
skills.
look for, I guess.
A lot of times, soft skills like actually doing the actual technical skills or the actual softwares or product you can learn. But if you don't have the interpersonal skills, if you're not relatable, if you're not, if the interviewer don't think that you will be able to fit in the organization,
the environment, I guess, the whole team environment and the corporate environment. So
the about you question will within 5 seconds tell you that if the person is going to fit in. So have a prepared answer of the about you question. The second question usually comes up is. I'm just generalizing here, not going through the whole interview, but why do you want to work for this company? And you need to have a prepared answer. So if I follow the STAR approach, why do I want to work for Mindful Matters as an example? I would say I've got MT experience that I've used from doing Jamaat work. And I've been doing that for the last 7 years. And alhamdulillah, it's been very successful. The biggest achievement that I've done is doing the live broadcast of Khutbah Jummah.
There you go.
And
not many people can say that, and that they've been through that. And
that's again highlighting your skill
set.
the situation, the task, action, and the results.
That's right.
So if you can practice your answers in that procedure, it makes it a lot easier. I've been mentoring a lot of other students in the last couple of years as well, and a lot of students come in with CVs 5 pages long and say the same thing to that resume as well. That you need to have the resume which is highlighting your actions and results. A lot of times there are paragraphs on paragraphs of things that the actual HR person won't read.
I'll be honest, I was going through some CVs. I was looking to hire some people for my business, and every time I see a paragraph, I've just went and gone next. And it's just, even as now I understand as an employer that clear and concise, and why they used to tell us to keep everything simple and 2 dot points, because too much information, if you have to explain so much about yourself, and I personally feel that there's, something there that we don't know about. So I guess, keep it simple. It's a KISS approach. Keep it simple, and really talk about the points that are, related to the role that you're going for.
Precisely. If I talk about resume, keep it simple to the dot points. The whole idea behind resume is to get the HR person interested into you. And then once you get a phone interview or a face-to-face interview, that's where you actually have to shine and use your STAR approach to be able to become a star.
Excellent.
So that's a thing to
STAR approach. I like that. There you go. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Look, we're going to be talking about business in future episodes of Mindful Matters, but because I've got you here and you've actually gone through this yourself, give our viewers, I guess, a couple of points on, if they want to start a business, what are the steps, what do they need to look for? How would you go about it?
Well, I personally went through the whole 12 months goal setting structure for my personal life. I thought about what are the skills that I've already got and what are the skill set that I can utilize to help somebody else. So essentially utilizing my 7 years of Salesforce experience, I thought about so the 3 options I've had at that point. I did a lot of self-reflection. The 3 top things that I actually came up from a mindset perspective were, can I do photography, which I had the MT experience from. Secondly was the Salesforce experience, setting up a business, helping them with sales and marketing challenges. Or the third one was food. I actually love food, and I'm a fairly good cook as well.
Excellent. Okay, interesting.
Utilizing those top 3 things came up. There were other wild theories around setting up 3D printed houses as well. So a lot of other things came up, but then I went back and identified what are the skill set that I currently have that can essentially go into business next day or next couple of weeks.
So it's the least amount of effort you need, I guess, at the end of the day.
And prioritization.
Of it, and finding, I think from what you say is it's about finding the actual skill set that you have, and there's an opportunity in the market, and really aligning yourself with that opportunity. And that's probably the most simplest way to define business, I guess, at the States.
And luckily enough, I had the networking that I had through Salesforce. A lot of salespeople that actually sell the software. I already had those connections, so I didn't have to go out to market and do a lot of marketing. A lot of salespeople knew that I was I knew the system, how to implement that, because I've been doing that for the last 5 years. And they knew the skill set. They said, I actually literally sent out one email to the whole sales team and said, I'm going to business. Let me know if something comes up. And alhamdulillah, for the last 12 months, I actually have spent a single dollar on marketing.
How good's that? That's awesome. That's
So
great.
again, utilizing your current skills, your current
Your
network.
yeah.
Network is very important for business.
That's
because
correct.
a lot of time businesses go into people go into businesses and they think about, where do we actually start?
Yeah.
I say start with your network.
Network, correct.
Start with your brother, start with your Jamaat contacts, and don't be afraid to hear no as well. A lot of time people do get discouraged from that.
Yeah.
But I say one no is essentially a yes in future as well.
That's correct. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you can provide that service, maybe not now, maybe in 12 months, you're able to provide that service to the guy.
It's
or the
it's
girl
all about selling as well.
That's
A
right.
really good example I heard from a lady entrepreneur by the name of Jenna Kutcher. She actually gave the example of selling as sending out your birthday party invites on Facebook. So I love that example because on Facebook invites, a lot of people will come to your birthday party just to eat food. A lot of people come to your party to have their own fun. They won't talk to you. A lot of people, some people may come and yell at you because XYZ wasn't invited. And the last one was people coming to actually party to enjoy with you and actually have fun.
That's right.
So selling is a lot like that, and
it's all about numbers, I guess, and a certain percentage will say yes, and a certain percentage will say no. But if you keep knocking on enough doors, I think you'll be able to close business over time.
So you should be focusing on the whatever percentage that will actually come to your party and actually enjoy. So that actually changed my mindset as well. Initially, I thought selling might be hard, but now I think I just want to send out birthday invites.
That's excellent. Now, thank you so much, Owais. Mashallah, it was a very inspiring story. May Allah bless your business further, and thank you for joining us today. So for our viewers, if you've got any questions about business, or you actually want to ask a question about his journey in business or even in careers, look, feel free to send an email through to ask@mindfulmatters.org.au, or send us a question on our Ask FM. It's askfm/mindful matters. The links are on the screen. Thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next episode.